Today on the show is a very special guest. He's the Managing Director of SRL Diagnostics. In fact, health has a very good correlation with the per capita GDP growth rate, and that is something we will be discussing in detail on the show today. Indeed, a wonderful tea off, Dr. Chaudhary. Welcome to Tea Time today.
How are you, Cheti?
Very well. In fact, looks like you've been tested positive to be a great golf player in your sports gene test with the kind of tea off we just saw. So take us through this sports gene test that you were talking to me about.
Cheti, sports gene test is a very important diagnostic test for anyone who aspires to be a professional sports person.
Right.
The test was found out coincidentally when they found that the black athletes in every competitive athletic event did better than the others. So when they did the gene profiling of some of the very successful athletes, it was found that there is a gene called ACTN3, which is what is called the sports gene, which exists in 3 variants. The good thing is it exists in every human being.
Really?
Whoever is born has no reason not to play. This particular gene has 3 expressions. One is that you are made up for power sports, that sports that need a lot of power.
Power and endurance.
Yeah. The power is where you have the ability to deliver very high voltage energy.
Like rugby.
Like rugby, like long distance running, like boxing. Endurance is where you need a lot of stamina.
True.
Okay, so power and stamina could be different.
Cool.
So the second copy is endurance, which folks in basketball have, in tennis have.
Right.
And the third copy, which is in vast majority of others, is the mixed variant, which means they are a combination of power and endurance.
They'll be our golfers.
They'll be golf.
It's interesting that this exists in our country, and I got to know of it as well myself today when I ended up chatting with you offline. So how have you gone about to make this more known amongst the normal civilian in the country?
A healthcare company has a certain limitation of its ethical makeup.
Right.
That we don't advertise so openly and so overtly. So what we did was we went to all major schools in India that have a special sports program. For instance, the Army Public Schools or the Motilal Nehru School of Sports in suburbs of Delhi. There are schools that actually give sporting scholarships to the students so that they excel in their leagues, etc.
Right.
And the traction was immense. And as parents learned about it, many parents came on their own and actually found that their child was, they were pushing the child into a wrong sport.
You said they were at attractive prices as well. So what would be the price range if I want to get a test done like
this is priced very attractively, just at about 2,000 rupees. And it's a very simple blood test, doesn't involve any pain. And we have specially trained pediatric phlebotomists. Phlebotomists are the people who draw blood, who do it so nicely and soothingly that children don't even know that they've been tested.
Lovely. On that note, it's time now for me to tee off, and
Please.
We will continue with our game.
Very good shot.
Thank you so much. Now, several indicators have gone to prove that with every 10% rise in per capita GDP, you are seeing a 2% increase in life expectancy as well. How true is that statement?
That is true, both with the empirical data that's become available since the Second World War. We've seen nations bring up their life expectancy from high 50s to high 80s. From 40s to 60s. Even in India, we've seen a significant increase in life expectancy. And the reason is very simple. There has to be a reason for termination of life. Okay, if one is lucky not to meet with any traumatic accident, it's usually a disease. And if there is ability to fend the disease off, either through a preventive mechanism or curative mechanism, then you're making that person have an economically productive, longer life.
Right.
So if I'm economically productive for a longer span of life, I'm contributing to the GDP. And in fact, It remains to be seen whether this is ad infinitum possible, but surely with the expectancy of life that we have in high 80s in some of the countries, including Japan and Western Europe, we are seeing a steady increase in the per capita income as well.
On technological innovation at SRL, you all are constantly in the endeavor to innovate technologically to be able to match up to the world global standards of diagnostics. Tell us more about that.
On human body, it's possible to do, and you may be surprised, around 4,500 tests. So they relate to different body organs, they relate to different systems, they relate to different limbs and situations. Of the 4,500 tests that are possible on human body, SRL actually does nearly all of them. And the reason is, when a patient comes to you for investigation, a diagnostic lab or diagnostic company has the moral responsibility to make available to the doctor, the physician, and the patient correct and accurate information. So we have a dedicated research and development section. We're the only ones in India to have that. In fact, not many diagnostic companies in the world invest in R&D. It's the equipment makers who invest in R&D.
Yeah.
So we are among the very few in the world that have a dedicated, very trained scientific, medically trained scientific manpower that focuses on this. And that is the reason, Chaiti, we are able to bring a large number of tests at very affordable prices in India.
Now, the diagnostic services market still continues to remain fragmented. We see a lack of standardization procedures and accreditations as well. How do companies like yours tackle a situation like this?
Let me shock you with a number first. India, it's believed, has 50,000 labs. First of all, nobody knows because you don't need any approval to set up a lab in this country. And less than 350 are accredited by the national agency. Large public sector labs are also not accredited. Now, what accreditation means is that every morning you are testing that your equipment is reporting correct results.
But that's a voluntary accreditation, isn't it?
It is unfortunately voluntary accreditation.
But how much do companies follow it then?
Well, all the larger organized sector players follow because they have their reputation to guard in terms of quality and the reliability of results. But I think it's time that Government of India wakes up to the reality that leaving such an important activity in healthcare as voluntary is not going to serve the national purpose for long.